I remember when I was younger, I had this vivid dream or imagination, and there was this specific scene, and it was of me being a PhD researcher while also running a multi-billion pharmaceutical company. I always had this dream of me being a very successful woman, proving everyone wrong, proving to the world that women can do anything. Not only that, but also having the resources to be able to make medicine more accessible and to help change the world. But the problem was, in reality, when I'm staring at an email, I can't even get myself to answer it. And that is such a disheartening feeling, because for somebody like me, a high achiever ADHD, we have so many dreams, so many hopes, so many ideas of what we want to do and what we want to achieve. But unfortunately, we struggle with ADHD executive dysfunction. We struggle with ADHD paralysis. We struggle with so many things, even when people assume that we're just not motivated enough or we do not have the drives to do it, even when we have such vivid dreams that it feels real. So today I'm gonna talk about this paradox. The paradox of having ambitious dreams while also having ADHD. ADHD is not meant for hustle culture. It doesn't mean that it was not meant for big dreams and big ambitious careers. It just means that the world we're working in is not built for us, so we have to pave that way. It means that the normal advice we hear online doesn't really work for us. So we should take what helps us and delete everything else. First of all, we're going to talk about ADHD paralysis. It's such a big thing because ADHD paralysis may look on the outside as somebody just being lazy or unmotivated. It's exactly what people say to us. So, as an ADHDer, when we sit down and we scroll on our phone, or we're watching something, or we're just there looking at the wall, usually what's happening is in our brain is that we're not actually enjoying what we're doing. It's not like we're like so ingrained in that TikTok. Most of the time we're not. We're actually just over analyzing, over explaining, over perfectioning a plan or what we have to do to the point that our brain just completely shut down. It's like, I don't want to do this. There's too many things going on. Like, what the hell is going on? Not only that, the fear of doing something wrong and doing something imperfectly. That's why I always say that it is some sort of perfectionism. The ADHD paralysis is some sort of perfectionism. It's the fear of not being able to do the thing the best way it could. Not only that, it's the feeling that everything is too challenging, too hard, too complicated, even when it's something as simple as just writing an email, or something as simple and like brain numbing as washing dishes. To us, that seems such a big burden. Brushing our teeth, that all takes our mental energy. It's not like normal people where like it just happens. No, that doesn't happen in our brain. Everything that we do every day, we have to do it like it's a regular task where people need to think through and like actually decide to do it. It's hard to explain when you don't really feel it yourself, because it's so hard to be like, oh yeah, we don't really build habits because our brain just doesn't do that that way. Like, we have to decide to do stuff. That's why when you see an ADHDer just sitting there, it doesn't mean that they're lazy. It's literally they're just overstimulated and just thinking of 3 million options of how to do something. So when you want to conquer the world and be able to explore it, you are literally physically stuck on that couch. You are scrolling for 3 hours trying to figure out and screaming internally at yourself to just get up and do it, but you just can't. It's like a car engine when you turn it on again and again and again and again. Yes, it may be a very good car engine, but it just doesn't want to turn on. It just doesn't want to do it because it's completely locked, because maybe of a brake or anything. You just cannot turn the engine because there is something literally blocking it from turning on. So that looks like over planning. It really just manifests as over planning. We're just we, rather than spending the time to do the things that are ambitious, we spend so much time just trying to plan. We have 50 plans of everything that may go wrong and how to fix it. And it's actually building the bridge, but forgetting the first step of that bridge, because we're just doing it all rather than just doing it one by one. ADHD is not a lack of attention. I hate it when they're like, oh, you just can't pay attention. No, I can pay attention, but to something I like. If you're telling me pay attention to a boring lecture at 8 a.m., no, that's not gonna happen. But if you're gonna tell me to pay attention to that League of Legends game, to pay attention to every person in that map, I will pay attention. That is what I mean. Like, it is so funny when I say it this way, but it's the truth. ADHD is not the lack of attention, it's just the inability to be able to regulate that attention. What does that mean? That means that we may neglect something that is so basic to life, but hyper-focus on something that we're so passionate about. I remember I painted 50 paintings in a span of a week just because I had a painting itch that week, and that meant that I'm gonna paint and paint and paint and paint and paint till I cannot paint anymore, which you can say is not a very healthy habit. So how does that look like? It looks like you forgetting to eat, you forgetting critical things that you have to do, forgetting invoices, forgetting deadlines, because you got interested in something else, or because it's not interesting enough. You just don't think it's interesting enough that it's worth spending hours and hours on, which I'm like, I totally get it. I don't want to spend hours on something that I don't really like. But it does just end up with you having a boom and bust of where like you're doing everything at once and then you're not doing anything at all, which is not great in the world we live in today. I wish it was, but unfortunately that is not a great way of doing it. Anyways, executive dysfunction, the broken bridge. Why do I say it's the broken bridge? It's because it's somewhat of the reason why we cannot do the task we have to do. So executive dysfunction is essentially our frontal lobe telling us to do the things we have to do. It's being like, oh, you can do this, after this, after this, after this. This is point A to point B. So this is how we're doing it. This is the time we're allocating it. This is how we're prioritizing it. And it initiates our tasks. In ADHDers like me, we do not have the dopamine. We do not have the fuel to fuel the engine, which is our frontal lobe. So what does that mean? That means that we just do not do that. We just can't sequence. We can't be able to just, yes, we can see the forest, but miss the trees in the sense of a way of like, we get the whole goal, the ambition itself, but it's so hard for us to be able to understand what goes on in between and what is really important, what is not important, because that's why we spend hours building the website rather than actually selling the product type of situation. It's just our brain so focused on something that doesn't matter just because it's more entertaining and more fun, and it also feels productive right now, and something that you can control. You can't control how people do things, so that's what it is. So ambitious people like me have their self-worth literally tied into that achievement. So when you have executive dysfunction and you cannot really see the way where you can achieve it, or something that leads directly to your goal, you feel this deep shame and this imposter syndrome, and eventually you will burn out, because we are just human after all. So when we can't really be able to achieve what we want, we feel like we failed even if we progress so much. It's just because we're too focused on the forest that we forget the trees in the sense of a way. We see the big picture, we see the end goal, but we really cannot see what's in between. So what does this all mean? It doesn't mean don't be ambitious. I am one of the most ambitious people I know today, and I'll always be one of the most ambitious people ever, because that's a part of who I am. And I'll never tell somebody to don't be ambitious, because look at everybody that is famous, everybody that is successful. They've tried and tried and tried and tried again till it succeeded. As they said, Oprah failed so many times before she succeeded, but here she is, one of the most popular media figures ever. So just do it. Don't not be ambitious. Another thing is just what I meant by this whole video is not, as I said, to not be ambitious. It's about changing the way you see things rather than trying to blame yourself or say that you're too ambitious. For example, for Paralysis, lower the bar. Be like, I'm just gonna write one sentence. Like, I don't have to write the whole email. I just have to write the first sentence. Just say, hi, how are you? And then most of the time the ball starts rolling. Or for a book, just be like, I'll just read the intro, or I'll just write something, or for an essay. You just have to lower the bar, make the ceiling lower. For executive dysfunction, use external structures. Yes, we do lack the internal structures, so use external structures. Use the body doubling, use the timers, use the visual learning tactics, the boards. I love blackboards for a reason, and I love chalk for a reason because of that external feedback that I'm getting, even if it's technically not feedback. Just rather than relying on you, rely on something outside of you. For negligence, automate or outsource. Literally outsource the mundane things that drain you. If you get a way to outsource something, do it. Why are you not doing it? Try to figure out something so you don't drain your dopamine before you even get to the work that you actually enjoy. Your ambition is not a mismatch for your brain. Your brain is a literal powerhouse. I've talked about it in one of my last videos. I'm gonna link it up here, where it talks about hyperfocus and how amazing hyperfocus is, because our brain is a powerhouse. It just needs a different user manual. So please work with your brain rather than against it. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And if you really enjoyed this video, you can watch my last video on what I had to unlearn before I started medicine or med school soon. So I hope you learned something from this video, and see you next time. Bye bye.